Hello there, survivors, and welcome back to ARK Survival Ascended. We're back on Valguero, and today we're going to be building some dino stables, at least big enough to fit some Deinonychus, I think. I've been quite obsessed with those for the past few days, and we're going to do that in this Rohan Viking style that I've been working on for, the few days that we've had Valguero. I've got a few builds for the basic little houses in the back. I've already got a video of those, like build tutorial on those already, even a template available. And then I've also built this slightly bigger version of the houses that I quite like the look of. I quite like this little style, and I like to, make the vanilla version without mods, and then also see what it looks like with the Viking builders cosmetic, which is definitely a really good one for these types of builds. And I've actually been really enjoying just making a little village with some details around the place. I've added little gardens all around it, little farms and little plants and everything. Look at this little field growing plants here, little scarecrow too. Yeah, quite like the whole atmosphere that's creating. I'm slowly growing this little Rohan village, kind of Edoras inspired, most of these buildings. And quite happy with the way this is all turning out. I think it's quite a cozy little place, and it's definitely looking quite nice in my opinion. So yeah, just some nice small cozy builds so far. Today it's going to be a slightly bigger build, of course, because we want to have some stables that we can actually use for our creatures. I already have some Deinonychus here just to, get the ARK vibes in. But yeah, I really like the Deinonychus. I think they're quite cool and really nice and fast to move around on. So yeah, today we're going to work on some stables. I think I'll build them right about here somewhere. That's probably what I'm gonna go for, and then hopefully we can get up with a nice little design. It's gonna be in a similar style as these buildings, but then of course with their own little twist on it, and hopefully good enough for a decent amount of Deinonychus or other creatures of a similar size. The hardest part about designing stables or dino pens is always the tails. The tails always swipe through, but I think in about 3 foundations you'll definitely have enough space. You can kind of see it here, standing right next to 3 foundations. That's about the length you'll need. Technically 2 might fit, but then you'd have to have the head stick out a little bit, or the tail would stick out the back, and that's not what you want, is it? So that's what we're going to be working on today. We're here in a little village that I've started working on. Again, I'm quite happy with the way this is turning out. If you're wondering, I'll show the coordinates in a little bit, but especially all these little pathways, using fairy pathways, and then having all the little decorations around, I think it's quite a nice little vibe. It's just fun to work on and let it grow. It's been a while since I did like a whole little town or village project, so that itch was something that I had, and now I've been kind of doing it quite easily with making a vanilla version of a building and then making a second version of it, and then using the cosmetics so that I have both versions standing in the village. And that of course makes a village grow quite quickly as well, because it means I kind of always double the amount of new structures that I add, and all the little decorations around it make it feel quite alive already, even though it's just a small little village with 4 buildings so far. It definitely feels alive and feels quite cozy out here. So yeah, quite happy with the way this is all turning out. Can't wait to continue on this. This is definitely going to be one of my main little projects. I've been wanting to do like an Edoras build for quite some time, so I've got a list of things that I want to build in this style, and today we're going to build a not, well, we're going to build a sizable dino stables, but not like huge. I do have a bigger design in mind as well, but I'll need a little bit more time for that before we get going with that one. Hello there, Ellie. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. All right, so if you're wondering, this is where I'm building. It's right on the coast of the lake. So even though Edoras wouldn't have any docks, we could even add some Viking docks in the future. Because, I mean, let's be honest, Rohan is kind of just horse Vikings. That's kind of the vibe we're going for. But, yeah, really liking the style so far. Alright, so what I'll need is definitely some foundations, triangle foundations probably. We'll definitely need some of those. And we'll start with that. Hello there, welcome in, welcome in. So yeah, I think once again we're gonna start building this one right over here somewhere. And I think I wanna start with making sure that one of the sides is facing that way. And I kind of need to see how big this would get if I do 3x3 everywhere. Because that might be the size I need. Is that rock going to be harvestable? We kind of don't want to remove that rock, I don't think. Quite like that in the landscape. So we'll have to move it around a little bit. Okay, so we'll need 3 over there. Oh, hopefully I can harvest this rock, because otherwise I'm still gonna... Oh, if I can type, that would be nice. Gonna he still be in some problems? Oh, is this not harvestable? I guess we'll need to go clear of that landscape then. Can I raise this up? Don't want to go too high because that might get me in issues with the rest of the landscape. Okay, so there we go. That's the start of this. We'll try it again. 3x3s. Hello there. I'm glad you like it, because I'm really in love with the project too. I've been long wanting to do some Rohan builds, and this has finally been the place to do it. Seeing all the Rohan inspired things, this was the one to do it. So we're going for it. Okay, so basically the design is going to be, it's going to be like a little tower here in the corner, and then we're going to have some stables off to this side and off to that side, and that's kind of the design that we're currently going for. And then I'm thinking the building is probably going to be this long, because then we have 2 wide stables. That's probably fine. I mean, you could go further, of course, if you wanted more stables. But for now, I think we'll keep it at that. See what that feels like. We'll definitely have to clear out some landscape. Normally I do that with the command, but I don't want to show you my passwords and stuff. So we'll do it by hand for now. Okay, we'll see if this kind of layout is going to work. I'm pretty sure it will. It's kind of what I was looking for. So yeah, we're going to have that tower in the middle, which is where you could do like hatching of eggs and stuff like that. And then we would have 1 stables there and 1 stables there. The only downside is that this way I can't really have a gateway there. So maybe, just maybe, we see if we could make this one bigger. Then this would be one bigger as well, of course. So instead of 3, it would be 4. Because then the entrance would be easier to make. So that would be 4. Oh, this would be 4. Okay, we're gonna have to clear these sides. I think that's probably gonna be for the best, because then I can actually have the dino gate going into that tower, which I think is something I probably want. I think that's gonna be quite convenient. So basically we're gonna make this a 4 by 4 by 4 by 4 on the outside. That's what we're going for. So 4, 4, 4, and then we just have to fill these in extra. Okay, so now what we can do, I don't know if I have this, stone gate. Basically why we want this is so that we can have a stone gate over here, which is kind of what we want. There we go. We can make a nice entrance over here. And yeah, it still means we can have our stables here. I'm probably still gonna just make these 3 wide. Like that. I guess that works. There we go. Yeah, I think that works. That gives us a little bit more depth, but I actually quite like that. We can have some stairs over here. Oh, that was weird. I don't want them in the foundation. We can have some stairs in front of here, of course, so that we can still enter our stables. We can do that here too. And then, of course, on the sides, if it lets us. Here, it won't. Have to ghost for that one. Here, it probably will. There we go. So yeah, we would have the entrance to the tower in the corner and then the sides. But I feel like now with this scale, I might actually want to go a little bit further with these. So we'll just add a little bit more room, which basically means we have a few more creatures in here. Right? And that's always gonna be quite useful. Well, I've kind of been doing both. So I've been making vanilla versions and I've been making ones with the Viking skin. So that's kind of how I've been doing the whole village. So I'm designing them for vanilla and then basically making them even nicer with Viking. But the advantage of using the Viking skins is here in vanilla, of course, I have to use thatch, which is not the greatest material, of course, to use, especially if you play with decay timers. So then the skins would be more useful because then you can make them out of something stronger and make them still look like thatch roofs, which would be, of course, really nice. Well, this is a problem, isn't it? Is that a non-harvestable tree? Do we have more of those around? Oh man, then I'm gonna have to wait to a new update before that tree gets removed, I guess. Is that all the trees here? So just certain ones. That feels a bit weird. I can't harvest anything here. That feels very weird. That might just be bugged then. I don't know. I don't know. That's a little bit strange. Anyway, we'll have that one here. We'll have some pillars on the ends. It's because you have the bubble on, but I haven't got any settings for that. But I guess if that's it, it's fine. Foliage, yeah, I will do the command, but don't want to leak my passwords on stream, so that's why I'm not doing the command without hiding the screen. All right, we'll get some pillars going here on these corners. Kind of just as little supports. I always like doing that. Always looks quite nice, I think. There we go. So that's the start for these stables. Then definitely we'll want more pillars around, of course. But for now, I think the main look we're gonna want to design is these stables. All right, let's quickly try getting rid of all these things that are sticking through my building. Okay, that does work. There we go. Let's hope that tree can go now. Yep. Okay. There we go. The tree is gonna go. It always takes a little bit longer before it's really gone, but yeah, we should be good. All right, we're gonna work on these stables first, I think, and then we'll do the tower later, because then once we know the stable size, I feel like it's gonna be a little bit easier to judge the size of the tower. And again, it's kind of going to be based around the Deinonychus size-wise, I think. Or like creatures of that size. So something like this should work. Because otherwise it's going to be quite high if I go higher than that. Okay. Basically, we're building a little bit of a skeleton now for the stables, which I always like to do, because you kind of get a little bit more of a visual reference of the size of the building that you're about to design, and it's ending up to be a decently sized stables for sure. But I think it will be quite nice. I've got quite nice design in my mind. Actually learned the Cosmo finally. There we go. Yeah, I love the Cosmo. I really like it. It's quite good to get around on, quite fast actually with parachute. Okay, so basically we're gonna have these, but if I would have some scaffolding or something between them, would I still be able to ride? How high am I when I ride a Deinonychus? I need a Deinonychus. I'm gonna get a Deinonychus. I can get a Deinonychus. Uh-oh, I spoiled that I've worked on a Megaraptor build. I've just built a Megaraptor stables or breeding pen today. There we go. So yeah, that's about the size. They're not very high, are they? They're about pillar height with me on it. So if I would have scaffolding between those, I could still easily get in and out. Yeah, so that's totally fine. I mean, it's not gonna let me place them, of course, but we know what I want. Okay, so what I want to do is I need a thatch roof. There's my thatch roof. Okay, let's focus on one side of the building first, get a nice design going, and then we'll see if we like it or not. Do I just want to go for this? I think we will want to make it a little higher because we're still going to get some details. So we're not going to go another pillar. I think that would be a little bit much, but I think a little half pillar could be just the right extra height that we need to allow us to play with the design. And then I think, oh yeah, it's 3 wide. Oh, I think we need to do this all differently then. Okay, then this might be, we might have to do this whole bit different, but I think we can still kind of do what I wanted, but we just need to start from that side and then bring it down like this. So that means we'll have the half pillars over there. And then we'll have the full pillars underneath. And then we can have the stone pillars there. That's basically That's the build we're going for. There we go. And I'm not quite sure what we'll do with these inner pillars. I guess they could still be here, I suppose. They'll still line up, so I mean, we could still do that. There we go. All right. I was a little bit worried there that we were not going to be able to fit the design, but I think we can. Because, yeah, we need that even amount of roofs to get this going. There we go. Well, now we maybe don't even need that extra. We didn't really need that extra bit. Is it going to be way higher now? Yeah. Maybe we don't do these extra bits now because we removed it forward anyway. I'm going to make it, because otherwise it's going to be quite tall. So, yeah, we'll have this. And we'll have that. But, yeah, by this side, you're already lower with your Deinonychus because you go down the stairs there. There we go. Okay, so now we have the height in order. We can get the roof, and of course we'll want to add some nice detailing to the roofs, but for now we just want to have the shapes in place so that we can kind of judge what we're working with. There we go. So just to make the front a little bit nicer, or I guess I need to do these inner pillars now, which is going to be a lot easier as well. There we go. Might want to have those pillars. Do I want to have those pillars too? To make things even? Might do. There we go. All right. So here at the front, we want to have some scaffolding, I think. Just to get that look in there. There we go, quite like that. And then here on the front, ideally we would have a layer like thatch, but then the ramp look, if it would let me. It won't, which is weird. Why won't it? It will let me place everything else except the one I want. Well, maybe if I do that one. There we go. I really hate the fact that we do have these the ramp parts, but we don't have the same look, because it would look really nice to make it all still out of thatch. We can do that, of course, with the cosmetics. That's again the advantage of cosmetics. They usually do have those things. So yeah, I don't know what I would do for vanilla pieces. I probably go with wooden edge then. I think I would probably do something like this then, to just make a whole little lip out of it, a little bit of a design basically. Because yeah, you definitely want the overhang just to make that a little bit cooler. And then here at the front, we'd probably go actually for this. We might actually go for a little bit longer, because we kind of want that iconic little design feature that I've been doing for all of the builds. Kind of to match the vibes. There we go. Yeah, we probably also want to spice up the roof somewhere, because otherwise it's quite a big roof with not a lot going on. So I think maybe we could do something like this. Let's actually grab these materials in here. Do I need that? Don't think I do. Probably need that. There we go. I don't know. Do I want something like a window here? Do I just want to keep it open? Do I want it with like some railings or something like this? I guess that does make it a little nicer of a design if I do something like that. And then we probably would want something to kind of fill this wall up. And of course in vanilla we do not have a lot of options, but does make it more arky by adding something like this. Do I just do that? I don't know if I want to keep that all the way going. Maybe. Let's see. What would I have over here? Yeah, I guess around the back you'd probably want to continue that. That's not too bad. I guess what we do want in this case is a stone pillar underneath that one to support the whole thing. And I guess the back is going to be relatively easy. We'll at least have these. And then the beams going across it. And then possibly we do a similar thing with the railings. Because I do like the open air feeling of it a bit, you know? There we go. Yeah, I think that is... I mean, it's relatively simple, but I do think it's quite nice, so... why not, right? And then over here, I mean, honestly... there's probably going to be some kind of design going on over there. Something like that. We'll add these in already just to be sure. But yeah, that's of course where the tower build would start. But just so that we know there's going to be a wall there. It feels still supported. Here on the inside, I'd probably actually add some scaffolding. Because we want to make sure that it feels well supported around the inside too. And it's always nice to have a little bit more details going on rather than just have the outside look very nice and then the inside quite boring and empty. And that's a good use of the scaffolding pieces. There we go. Then I guess the question is, do we want to add anything in the roof? And what would we add? Because basically the easiest two places would be these. Oh my god, why is everything breaking down? I hate ARK logic sometimes. Like, what? Why did this pillar go? That didn't need to go. So yeah, basically what we could have is a little detail there and something here. Because otherwise, if they're in the middle, it's a bit weirder, right? I guess so. So we would then have these, of course, And then we'd have some windows out of them so we can have a little bit of light coming in. I guess we can't do the full detail going down there, but we can still have a little bit of detail in front of these windows to make it a bit nicer. Just like that. Yeah, and then we could have something here in the middle, I think. Right? Like we could have something nice up there. Because we could just maybe make it a little bit bigger than we normally have it. Because normally we have like these small things. But maybe we can make it slightly bigger. So we'll have some half pillars sticking out from those. There we go. Then we'll take out some quarter walls. Awesome. I think that's gonna work. There we go. That's the two I need. Okay. Awesome. And then we'll have a layer of these ramps at the end. There we go. And then the middle here is going to be filled with the stairs. Just to let some air through, basically. And that's already going to add some nice details there. We're going to get rid of this fog if we can. There we go. Yeah, I quite like that. That looks already quite nice. Quite detailed. We have the whole supports going. Do I need this then? Maybe we just do it like that. Do I want something there? Yeah, we don't see that. Definitely don't want that one, but then we maybe want all of these. And there's another pillar missing here for some reason. Yeah, kind of have like beams supporting the whole build on the inside, right? Alright, now it's time to make some dividers between the different stables. So we'll probably just go around with that. Then we'll have the same kind of thing. I mean, we could just do these this way, I suppose. And then that way. Probably want to make those slightly higher because even, I mean, Deinonychus is going to be able to jump over most of these anyway, but you know what I mean. This will look a little bit more like a proper divider for them. And I guess if you really wanted to, this would be tall enough to have a dino gate on the inside. It's not going to look the nicest, of course, when you open them. But if you wanted the extra safety, I suppose you could do that. But I think that works. I don't know, because it looks quite small in here. But yeah, you could probably have 2 or 3 in each section quite easily. And then you want to have this one over on that side too, of course. But yeah, I think I'm quite happy with the way that one turned out. So I guess we're gonna try and repeat that process over here before we get started on the tower in the middle. There we go. We can add all those pillars in. And we'll just basically build up the whole skeleton that we're working on. We'll have those going across, and then here of course is going to be slightly different. We'll have this for that kind of window section, and then we'll have this going on around the back here. There we go. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And then we'll have more full walls here. Then we go into kind of that design here on the end, I think. And I think we even had that one sticking out and possibly sticking out on that side too. With the trophy here in the middle. Okay, I've got a bunch of them prepared nowadays. Got them going. Yeah, I think that works. Before I forget, yeah, I think I forgot something here along the back, which is the little ramps that kind of make the overhang going on here. So definitely still want to add those in so it's not as flat here. There we go. But yeah, I think that is quite the same. So we'll have these fences going on around the bottom here, flip them around on top of those. There we go. Flip them around again to get that nice window design all the way through. And then of course this is where we can start filling in the whole roof basically. And I guess we can leave the middle two open because that's where we'll have the little addition in the roof. And then here on the front we're going to leave these two open. So it's going to get slightly more interesting the way we place these, but that should be the ones we want to place. Then we'll have this little addition here, that one over there. We'll have those going across the roof in the middle. And then we can have the half pillars. There we go. We'll get there. It's a little bit easier, of course, if you've already figured out the design. Kind of just need to bring it over for this part before we get started on the tower. Of course, we'll want these here in the front too. Get those in. I mean, would we want them at the back as well? Oh my god, lost another pillar. Why do I keep losing pillars for that? I kind of think we probably do want them here at the back too, because why not? Like, just makes it nicer. Gives us another place to let in some light. So might as well add them around here too. There we go. Same thing over there. It's quite easy really, but I do think, yeah, it just adds that little bit more, and I do think we definitely want them on the back of the building too, because otherwise that's going to be slightly more boring than the front. So why not add those extra little details in? It's not too much work. There we go. Well, we don't want it there. What did I do? Why did I add an extra roof in there? That's not what I want. There we go. So little details at the back. Same ones here on the front. There we go. Yeah, that's quite nice. And I guess we might as well add in these little details now. There we go. Add those over here. And then we also want these along the outer wall here. There we go. Get that whole design in here. Just the way we like it. Then we can go to the little ramps. Get them around the front here. Create that little overhang here. There we go. And then we also want that, of course, along this ledge. And then same back here. And back here. There we go. Just like that. And then we'll have the stairs, of course, for these parts here. Awesome. Yeah, that's looking quite nice. And then, of course, we want to have more scaffolding in here. There we go. Awesome. All right. We want to start filling in these scaffolding bits just to create a bit more details and supports here on the inside. I guess we don't want to go all the way to the top here anymore, but we can fit all those in. And we can do the same thing over here. There we go. All right, then we've almost built these two side bits. I guess we'll work on the divider now, which is gonna make all these separate little stables. Awesome. And then we can have the railings on top. I don't think so. The ramps are not blocking anything. Because you can still see this little design. That's what is most important. Oh, we also need to add them here. It's mostly about these little shapes they're creating, which is quite nice. And realistically, you're gonna mostly see it from this angle if you're walking by the build. And then we have the nice shapes there. Otherwise it would be one low. I don't think it really matters. I guess you could do whatever you prefer. But there we go. We have those two stables looking nicely now. Yeah, definitely like the vibes we've established here. That's kind of what I was imagining. And now we just need to figure out this center bit, which is, I guess, where the breeding could happen. Like, you'd have a pretty decent amount of space in here, to be honest. Let's see, can I add pillars? No, I can't have the right snap points. So if I do these, then I can get the right snap points. Which also means we can add these underneath. Which we definitely want. There we go. Okay, so we now have a whole little tower to design. And I do feel like for the tower, it's quite appropriate to maybe have a stone wall at the bottom. Hello there, Robin. Welcome in. Welcome in. I'm glad you like the builds. I'm glad you like the builds. I'm glad to hear it. There we go. Yeah, so we'll have a stone layer here, which I think is going to be quite nice setting this apart, because realistically the tower is at least going to have to be taller than, well, the side buildings, right? So we'll have at least that going on, but it's probably going to be about there, I'd say. So actually you should have a decent amount of space in this build. It's quite a nice sized stables. You could do a lot of, like, a lot of creatures would fit in here, and in this tower there's definitely a bunch of space. Definitely. All right, so I think it's going to be quite easy around the gate. I don't think we're going to do anything more than just having walls, because we don't want to make it too crazy. And then of course we'll have this. We can open the gates. That's kind of the detailing for this first layer, I think. And then I think we might want to just have something like that. For this side, the real question is, do you want to have anything facing the stables? Like, do you want to be able to look into these stables maybe, or not? Like, that is going to be the question. So I guess we'll make these pillars all 4 high. Yeah, I think that's what we want. Oh, thanks, Robin. It's always great to hear. Yeah, thank you so much for coming here and sharing that. I'm glad you're liking them. Yeah, I try to always have a combination of, like, practical sides to the build, whilst also, of course, being aesthetically pleasing. It's always a little bit of a balance. Sometimes that's easier than others, of course. I mean, I guess what we could do is very similar to what we did on the outside. I mean, realistically, we're not going to use the full ceilings, are we? So if I do these, because of course I want to make sure that they don't leave any gaps. If you don't know, that's why there is alternative versions for the wooden textures, because otherwise they leave little gaps and you don't want that. So yeah, I think if we have something like this, we could probably make a little window into these sides. There we go. Between the pillars we should be able to snap in the beams. Okay. So if I do that, something like that, I think that works. Yeah, and basically that just allows more light into the build, right? And also just kind of connects the stables together with that tower. I quite like that. I might actually also just bring those windows here to these sides, to be honest. Because realistically, we're going to want to have some windows, right, around the outside. And I quite like the designs of those. There we go. Oh, I don't have to do that anymore because I now have it in my inventory. So we'll have 3 more of these windows. I think that's going to be quite nice. So going to allow a decent amount of light in through the sides. But it also, I think, fits with the aesthetic. And I guess here on the outside, we can even make them a little bit nicer. Because we can add a little bit more details to them. So we'll go with these. And then we'll have the beams between them. There we go. And now basically what we could do to add a little bit of extra detail. Either we could do something... I probably want to do something like this. Around the window. So basically we're snapping it against the pillar. Which is how we get these roofs to place. I think that's going to be quite nice because it kind of ties back into the roof designs that we've had. And we're not going to be able to do that, of course, on the top of the building. So I feel like that makes sense. And then, of course, if we're going to have these beams, they're going to go across this entire section. There we go. And then we'll have to fill in these windows with our little designs. It's probably quicker if I just do these like so, because otherwise I'm gonna be switching way too slow. There we go. Yeah, I think that makes for some satisfying patterns in the little windows. And if you wanted even more details, like what you could do is make little things in front of the window, which is maybe not very Viking-y, because you could have like some plants or something on there. But we could make something like this, just to also help make these walls less flat. I think that's probably the main thing that this really helps with. Oh. What's that snap point? That's crazy. Hello there! Another first timer in the live stream. Welcome in. I'm glad you made it. We're working on some Rohan inspired stables here. For at least the Deinonychus is going to fit inside. This one right there for scale, but to be honest, you're going to fit a decent amount of creatures. The smaller creatures, you could do a bunch of them here in the stables, and in this middle section, it's actually going to end up being a decent build. Decent base to use. Alright, so we have our little windows now around the back. I quite like the way these turned out. That really spices up these walls. Whilst keeping with the Viking vibe, or the Rohan vibe. Now it's a matter of building up the next layer of this build. Which is already going to be quite a little bit bigger than I expected, to be honest. The main struggle is that we've made it out of triangles, and normally I do the roofs in where the normal full ceilings are, but now there's no full ceilings, so I mean the stairs. So we kind of want to figure out where the staircase is going to be. Because of course doing a staircase with normal stairs might prove tricky. Maybe we want to go for a staircase like that. But then we also want to make sure, like, because if I do it here, I think that, yeah, that goes through the outside. So we can't do that. Then it would have to be like this. But then the question is this even gonna line up? You know, is it even gonna line up? Is it gonna line up? That's the question. I guess we better start with this layer first, and then we can see whether or not it will actually line up. Oh, you like the yeah, I really liked the way the Elder Claw Sanctuary came together. Tutorial for that's coming out later this week as well. Yeah, I kind of like designing it with specific creatures in mind, because it gives you a very clear focus of well, the sizes, of course, like the minimum sizes you need, but also just kind of the vibes you want to go for. Oh yeah, this would fit great with I mean, this is all Rohan themed, right? So that definitely would go well with Helm's Deep. We're also building Helm's Deep on my community servers. Like, if you don't know, I've got a community cluster that you can play on for free, and me and my tribe on there are also building in Helm's Deep. I feel like I'm messing up the patterns now, because I'm trying to kind of keep these patterns clear. There we go. Am I doing that? Yes, I think I am. But yeah, I really like the Rohan vibe for this map. No, well, for the rebuilding ruins poll, it's looking like I'm gonna be rebuilding that castle on the lake. That's like 50% of the votes, if you're referring to which ruin I'm gonna rebuild on stream, which we might start soon. I'm gonna let a few more votes come in, but we've already had, I think it was over 600 votes, and yeah, that was almost at 50%, so looks like we're going to do that one, which is one of the castles that actually you could probably move in right away, but I think it's still going to be a fun project trying to, yeah, turn it into a full functioning base. I think that's going to be the challenge. A aesthetically pleasing but functioning base with a very much already pre-existing castle. So we'll see what we can add to it. Okay, so I think this is gonna work, right? So now this would be able, yeah, you would be able to get up here. It doesn't take up too much room in this room either. And I would probably at least have a pillar here going up to support it. I really, oh, I did just, I guess you can escape through these if you wanted to. I really wish we could have railings along the sides of these. I don't know why we won't. Some skins do, but then you can still fall off the sides, of course. So it would be really nice if we could actually snap railings to them to make them a little bit safer. But I guess at least this is a semi-practical way to get up to the next layer without wasting too much room. So we'll still have plenty of room for all our breeding activities. Because, I mean, let's be honest, this is a sizable room. You could definitely do a bunch of breeding, even bigger creatures, like even anything that kind of fits through the dino gates, you could easily breed in here. Like the Rex would probably fit in here. UTs would probably fit in here. It's quite sizable, and then you have all the side stables, of course, as well. Yeah, I think that's quite nice. I think I might want to add some pillars around this just to make it look a little bit more connected to everything. Do I or do I not want to have a little roof above this? to make this section less flat. I can't do the steeper ones, but maybe just a nice and easy one like this. Nope. There we go. Yeah, that just helps a little bit making this less flat, right? And that's why we needed the pillars there. Just to get that extra snap point. So far, I'm really liking the whole view of this. It does remind me of the very first Dino stables I've built. But then definitely a leveled up version. And of course, a different style. All right, let's see. We now need to design the next layer of the tower. I honestly think we're probably gonna go for about the same height as the first layer before we have the roof. So again, it is a sizable build, but I feel like we kind of need to, because otherwise it's gonna look a little bit weird, I think. So would I want to swap this around just to make it feel a bit different? Yeah, I kind of like that. And I think one of these windows would be really nice, since we don't have that on this side yet. There we go. Because I think that's going to be quite nice to have above the entrance. There we go, yeah. Yeah, for sure. This is going to be quite good to have right here. There we go. And I think if you'd really want to make this stand out more over here, it would be good to change these one to like a dark texture like that with the frontier skins. Because normally, like for the first layer of windows, this lighter texture stands out against the logs. But because we flipped it around for the next layer, I think using the frontier skin just gives that extra bit of contrast that we need, I think. Although we have to see if we can actually keep this, because if we now do the roof, we might get a little bit tight there. Let's see. Let's catch up. Yeah. I mean, the castle does have a lot of spaces, especially the extra section in the front would be really good for bigger breeding projects. But yeah. Oh yeah, this is kind of yeah, this would fit in a lot of places, to be honest. And you're definitely gonna get it's a little bit bigger than I had it in mind, but I actually quite like that, because again, quite a functional base with a lot of space for your little creatures that you might be breeding. Thanks, Robin. Thanks for stopping by and saying hi. Oh, catching. Yeah, because realistically, if we're gonna start the roof, if we have one more layer here, that might be preferable, right? Because now, if I then start the roof, it's probably gonna look like this. That's gonna work the best, I think. Unfortunately, we don't have triangle ramps. We do have ramp corners, of course, but not the triangle pieces, which would be really helpful. But, oh yeah, this is gonna be quite a tall build, isn't it? Yeah, that's quite tall. definitely quite tall. I think on one of the sides we can definitely make like a little entrance so you could fly in with a flyer. Because, I mean, it's turning into something you could definitely use as a base, right? Like, you don't always need that much space, but you have the breeding and the dino storage that you can have down here. This is definitely quite a tall room, so even bigger structures can fit in here. All right, let's go for the whole shape of the roof now, I guess. Might as well kind of get that in here. I guess I'll do these 3 sides for now, just so that we still have the light. But we can kind of imagine the way the roof is going to shape up. Oh my god, I keep misplacing. There we go. Yeah, and I guess you'd probably want to do something like that to still have a little bit more shape to the roof. Although if we keep into the spirits that what we did here, because bamboo I don't think really fits this kind of style in general, so probably go for something like this. Right, that feels then a little bit more appropriate. And again, if we would have ramp triangle pieces, that would be amazing. But we don't have those yet. So for now, we'll need to have those gaps at the corners. But yeah, I think that's going to be... It's going to have to be the shape of the building. Which is fine. But yeah, that does leave us with a rather big build. Which again, that is totally fine. There we go. We can probably add a nice balcony then on both of these sides, to be honest. I think we can get away with that. That would probably be quite nice. And we can have window that side, window there, and window there maybe. Hello there, Dave. Welcome in. Welcome in. What I've been doing so far, I've been making a vanilla version of the build, and I've been doing a skin version. I'm using the Viking builder skins for these, because that kind of fits the vibe, especially these, the thatch, or the primitive roofs that it has. So I'll probably make a version with these skins too. Although I don't know if I'm going to have 2 of those stables. That might be a little bit much. But, yeah. It would look good. It could also look good with other skins. I think you can always play around with skins to change up the same build in different ways. All right, let's get these pillars raised up so that we kind of get a feeling for the height of the building. Make sure they're connected the right way through. So we're continuing the right ways. Okay, so first off, we probably want to have these stick out like that, right? As a little bit of support. And then I think we'd probably want to do supports like this. Not too much, but at least a little bit. Without taking away from the little roof shape that we have underneath. Yeah, there we go. And then I think for these, we kind of can go rather big with them as entrances. And again, this is going to allow us to park some flyers up here, maybe. So maybe we'll make them even slightly bigger so that you could land an RG or something there without too much issues. Maybe add these all the way around then. Get our railings in, of course. There we go. Definitely want to have those half pillars around too. There we go. And I'd probably, even though, I mean, we don't need them this big, but it's kind of a convenient shape. And I might actually flip those gates around just so that they stick out a bit more on the outside. Because I think that's what we need. And then we could still have the beams going around the sides too, or the pillars, I mean. Honestly, this is probably what I should do with this main entrance here. I probably should also flip those around so it sticks out a bit more. Yeah, it's a little bit more 3D that way. Let's see, that needs to go in because technically that's now in. Yeah, I think that looks quite good. 2x2 gates would be really nice, yeah, because we have 1x1, we have 3x3, we have 2x3, we have 5x5, and then what is Behemoth is like, what is it, 6x8 or something crazy? Yeah, 2x2, like basically some, yeah, just the top of this, that would be awesome. That would be really nice. Okay, so would we want to just do a roof like this over here? Probably. We would have the room for it, I think. Let's see what it's gonna look like once we have all the skins in though, or all the roof pieces, because we'll have... Oh, we need to flip those. We'll have those going around, of course. Yeah, I think that's fine. But I think I'll still prefer to go with a simpler. Also, I need to switch around these walls. I just remembered that we were flipping the walls for this section. There we go. So we want to do this instead. And then I think above this we will not go for the less steep version of this. I guess we could still do that, to be honest. Yeah, that fits a little bit better there. Yeah, I guess we could do that here too, which means we can even add in that little bit of extra detail. There we go. So yeah, these walls also need to be switched around. There we go. We'll fill this all in again. And then we can go with this little roof above the gate. And of course, a little bit of a beam there too. So yeah, we have two entrances where we could fly in with our flyers, which I think is going to be quite nice. Which is definitely going to make this stable build quite practical, actually. This could be your whole base if you wanted to. There we go. Yeah, I'm liking the way. Yeah, I mean, yeah, mods, of course. Mods add options, but I try to... I mean, I do modded builds, of course, sometimes, but most of my builds, I try to at least make them vanilla friendly. There we go. So we definitely want to have the same kind of wall as we have on the front here. So we want to have that same window. There we go. And then we'll have the beams. Nope. Needs to start like that. Yes. And then we'll have the little design above the window, of course. There we go. And then these will change to the frontier skin for a little bit more contrast with the walls. And we want to have that little bit of extra detail underneath the window too. There we go. Yeah, I think that's quite nice, even though we have then 2 times the same thing, but I think that's fine. Because, I mean, alternatively, that wouldn't be a window, but I think we kind of like it, so I don't think it's that bad. Do we want to have windows on these sides? Probably do, to be honest, because otherwise they're going to be quite big and empty, which is going to be quite boring. So honestly, we'll probably just go for the same vibe again, because even if you want to place down some bigger structures on the inside, you can still do that in front of the window. Yeah, I do consider Bob Tall Tales to be vanilla, since it's so well worth getting. Since there's so many features in Bob Tall Tales, I feel like is the best DLC they've done. Except, of course, the map, Astraeus, that's different, I think. But like as a value for your money, the Bob Tall Tales are definitely the best thing they've released so far. Because if you can compare what you get for Bob Tall Tales with all these separate fantastic creatures that are like 5 each, you'll see how much value there is in the Bob. Because you have the amazing building skins, which I already adore, of course. You have some new pieces in there, of course. New decorations there. And then we have all the other like gameplay features related to the Bob Tall Tales as well, like the gene scanner. I mean, a lot of people like that. I don't really use it, but I know people quite like it. You have the creatures that are included with Bob Tall Tales as well, of course. There's so much in the Bob Tall Tales. I feel like that's the it's worth getting. I would recommend everyone getting at least the Bob Tall Tales. And I really do hope that with Lost Colony, of course, we don't quite know how good a value Lost Colony is going to be yet, because we've got some for the pre-order, but we really won't know until the full release of the map. And I do hope it also will include building skin and some new things like we've gotten with Bob Tall Tales. Because especially now that we haven't had Bob Tall Tales this year, I've really missed getting like the new the skin with the new map and everything, you know. I'd much rather have new skins, official skins, rather than all those extra creatures. But of course that's because I'm a builder, so you know. There we go. So we'll add in all these window features. There we go, all the way around. I think that looks quite nice. Yeah, visual storage is definitely something I would love to see become vanilla. Like a storage system like that is so much more fun because it actually decorates your base I feel like it makes gathering resources more fun as well, because you see it physically like change in your base, right? There we go. I think this looks really nice. I thought it would have been smaller in my mind, but of course that's just because it's always hard to kind of guess how big it's going to be in game. But this is actually quite nice, and this is quite a fully functional base, to be honest. Like, there's a lot to this. The platforms to land on. This whole section could just be your base, and we could even just build another layer here for like a bedroom. Which I feel like we just kind of have to do, at least. Like, make another layer, because otherwise that one layer is going to be way too big, right? Like, if we don't add another one. All right, let's at least have these around the outside so that we kind of can see the whole picture of the walls. But yeah, I think that means we have all the side walls kind of decorated with. And that means we're kind of left with what we do on the inside, but yeah, we have to have a top floor here, because otherwise you're just wasting a bunch of space. There we go. How many structures are we? I don't know if that's just this though, because there's other buildings nearby. It's definitely gotten a little bit bigger than I expected beforehand, but you know, it's fine. More stables? What do you mean 2 more stables? Oh, you mean from these sides have even more stables? I mean, you could if you really needed to, right? Yeah, you could have stables coming from that, but I kind of went for the whole corner design like this. That's kind of this is the view that I had in mind. But yeah, you could go as crazy as you want. Yeah, gothic skins with Lost Colony, that would be quite cool. I hope they're not going to be like too stylized to the one specific thing, because if you look at the skins we have right now, the western ones, the frontier ones, are probably still the best, because that wood you can use for a lot of different styles of builds. So I'm kind of hoping for something like that. But yeah, something gothic-y, castle-y would definitely be a welcome addition, I think. And especially if it's very well paintable and stuff, it would give us a lot of new options. All right, I think it's probably just easiest to continue the staircase over here. That would be the least annoying, right? Is that lining up though? That's not quite lining up. That's weird. How did that line up here? If it doesn't line up there. Does it line up, or is that just a weird coincidence? No, that does line up. Weird. Okay, well, if I started from here, is it gonna line up? Because that would be kind of ideal. I guess we could take away some of these structures to make sure they're not overlapping into things. Oh, did I not destroy this pillar? Why, ARK? Why? Okay, but at least that means we can kind of continue this. Again, would be really helpful if we could have railings alongside these, but ARK is ARK. There we go. So yeah, even though I don't really necessarily like these winding staircases, I feel like it's going to be the most convenient way to get up and down in this base. And this base has definitely got a bunch of space. Like this would be perfect for breeding. Then up here you could have your like your main base, I suppose. And then up here you have, I mean, more space and your bedroom, stuff like that. It's definitely going to be a bit more dark up here because there's not going to be like any windows, because we don't really have a great way to do a window except for greenhouse glass, which really wouldn't fit the vibe of this build. Because, I mean, there's not really another way to make a window in here. And I don't think we want a window in here. Doesn't quite go with the vibe of this roof. But yeah, there we go. Might have turned out like slightly bigger than I imagined, but I'm not mad about it. I think it's quite a cool build actually. Quite a useful little design. Well, not little, but definitely a useful design. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that looks quite good. That's a stables with a tower base, I suppose. Which is quite nice. I think we'd want to have a few more little details, because I think just having this maybe would that already help. I guess that means we can just have that going across the entire thing. I do feel like that makes a little bit more sense maybe. There we go. Especially for that bottom layer, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I quite like that. I guess then, you know, you would probably have some feeding troughs in here to make sure everything's fed. I mean, honestly, you probably would have one here as well, because this is where breeding would be happening, right? Oh, you could have so many Deinonychus here. All of the Deinonychus could be living here quite easily. Yeah, let's see. So this would be probably all breeding related things. So we probably would have, and this is where ARK immersion is going to completely break, of course, because, well, maybe there is some skins that could make this a little bit more medieval friendly. But yeah, you probably want to have a little hatching wall. You might want to have some gene storage. That's what people do, right? I don't know how, but it's powered here. So I must have placed... Oh, I probably placed a generator down somewhere. I guess some cryo fridges is what you would want down here as well. That's what I would do. I mean, unless you're using a Dino depot or something. Oh yeah, torches. Yeah. Torches would be more fitting with the aesthetic, I suppose. But not necessarily very effective or practical, yeah. There we go. I think there's a Viking skin for the cryo fridge, which is quite cool. So we have cryo fridges, we've got food, we've got the gene thingy. I guess you could have the embryos, but who's really using the embryo thingy? Is anyone doing that? I'm not. But I don't really breed anyway, so. And I guess most of it, you just want to keep the space open, right? Because if this is where you do breeding, you'll need the space. So that means we'll go up to the next layer. And we get to design whatever's here. could have a cooker. We would want a grill. Fridge. I mean, I guess we could also have a fridge downstairs, right? To save some eggs, maybe. And probably just want to have some storage. Just some storage is always welcome, right? Do I help people build bases? Well, I make tutorials for that reason, so that's how I help you, or these live streams. But I'm not going to come personally help you with a build. That would involve way too much time, unfortunately. There we go. So yeah, I feel like that's a pretty decent setup. Quarter on corner of roof. What? What? I don't know what you mean. It's raining. We don't want rain. Stay away, rain. There we go. So yeah, this feels like a somewhat practical breeding setup. And then up here, I'd probably design like a little kitchen area, right? Where we probably would have the cooker here, because it always takes up a decent space. And then we could have the grill over there. Would have a fridge down the side of it. And then we probably want to make it cozy as well, so we'll have a table, some chairs, maybe even a bench. Which again, this is definitely not the most practical part, but I feel like it's a nice part. So probably around here. So yeah, we'll make the kitchen very cozy. There we go. I might even add like a little vase from the Eastern event. I really wish they would make these some of these event things, decoration things, more easily obtainable. But yeah, if you did the Eastern event, you can add some nice flowers. Maybe not very Viking-y, but it is what it is. I guess for the Viking, I probably want the cooker in the middle, because that looks quite cozy with the Viking skins. That's probably what I do. Okay, but if this is gonna be also an actual base, we would definitely want a smithy up here, right? Where we have it. Maybe over here? We definitely also need some storage somewhere. You know what? We could have this here. A library for like blueprints and stuff. Right next to it. Probably want to have some storage over here. And over there. Because that's where you would come in, right? To unload. And then if you want to have the bigger structures in here, I guess you would have a fabricator. Because we do have quite a bit of space. So yeah, we would have a fabricator, a cam bench somewhere. Probably here. Maybe if I take that one away. We can have a little bit more storage. Just like that. Probably, can we do the same thing here? No, that's definitely visible outside, so I guess that will be all we can have on this side. Ooh, could we do a forge in here? That's the real question. That's, I guess, how I should have started it, because the forge is so huge. I guess it could fit though. We just have to move this around a bit, which is fine. We could have that here. See, like, you could have a full-fledged base here. You probably want a little bit more storage, although we do already have a decent amount of it. And we still have the upstairs as well, but that would be less practical, of course. All right, let's see if we can skin some of these to some nicer looks, because I don't mind using skins on the interiors. So we'll have that one, and we'll have this one. So that's going to be our cozy grill. Then our table and stuff is going to be more cozy too. I'm going to change to these chairs. It's not going to be a throne. Just some normal chairs there. We would have the vaults look a lot more Viking-y. That's one. I love the library too. And then the smithy is quite cool instantly. Chem bench. Yeah, this skin makes the forge quite small, but you can scale it up a little bit, because then the hitbox is less noticeable. There we go. And of course we want to do this one, because this is the real Viking vibes instantly. There we go. And this one again turns a little bit smaller, but I guess the hitbox of the... No, the fabricator does have a little bit of a bigger hitbox. So maybe if I make this slightly bigger, it feels less random. Yeah, it would have to be even bigger actually. Yeah, that's fine-ish. Halloween decorations. I know Sandy made a pretty decent Halloween cosmetic, if you just want a cosmetic skin. There's also a few Halloween deco mods. I can't remember the names. We've been working on a little Halloween build already, but yeah, I don't exactly remember the names. I think I just searched for Halloween, to be honest. There we go. I feel like this is quite a cozy little base up here already. For the fridge skin, what I probably would grab is the Australia's one, because I really like that for a fridge that feels a bit more medieval. You can actually see like the bison milk down there and everything, which is really cool. So yeah, this feels appropriate. Can we go and skin these? I thought they had skins. There we go. Look at that. It's a pretty cool cryo fridge skin. Yeah, I doubt that's gonna have a skin. Not often does. This would be really nice to have. There we go. We'll do the bison milk here. Guess there's also no feeding trough, but that kind of fits anyway. Yeah. I guess that fits the vibes. And then upstairs, I don't know what you would do there, because you could have more storage up here, of course. But it's quite hard to get to, so I don't know if you want to have some here. So I guess at least I'd probably make a bed here. But yeah, it's quite a big room. So you could do a lot with this. You could do definitely quite a lot with this. I mean, you could just make it a dedicated storage would be good to have up here, I guess. But then how you would still have to get all the stuff up here. I was gonna say because the wireless thing would probably still work down here, but yeah, getting resources up here would be quite annoying, I suppose. So you probably don't want to do too much of that. Probably not. So I don't know. You could at least sleep up there. But most of the things you can already do in this little base. Which is quite nice, because that wasn't really necessarily the intention when I started the build. It was more to have a nice a dino pen. Blueprints, yeah, I guess you could have a library up there and then link it to the other storages as well. Yeah, that would work. Or you could have multiple if you want to organize it more. I usually just go for, I put everything in the library and link it, because that's quite convenient. But maybe you could have backup blueprints of that then. Have the best ones in the library that's linked. Yeah, quite happy with the way this one turned out. I think this looks quite cool. I guess we'd probably want to have a few more Deinonychus in here, right? There we go. We'll place a few of them in so that it doesn't look as empty. A few more on this side. There we go. Get all the Deinonychus in there to make the stables feel less empty. There we go. Oh, this one looks quite mean with a little bit of blue in there. Yeah, you probably want to have 2 or 3 in here to fill up the stables. Look at this. Packs are ready to run out. You could easily have 2 or 3 in there. Which I guess makes sense, because then you could instantly run out with a little pack and have the boost. As long as the chills don't stick out, but as you can see, yeah, all you really need is probably like 2.5. So it doesn't go through the back. I guess that's all really necessary. But at least, you know, now it's not as empty. There we go. Yeah, I quite like the way this one turned out. And for this, yeah, you could definitely have some bigger things in here if you want to breed some bigger. Deinonychus, yeah, they can pass through double doors. So if you just do Deinonychus, you could have double doors in here. But that would limit some of the creatures you could have in here. Actually, what you could also do, if you want more creatures to fit through, what you would do is you would create something like this. And then you'd want thin pillars, I think. And then instead of doing a double door, you would go for a little barn door. Because then more things will fit through it. But I guess the snap points for these can sometimes be really annoying. Because I think it probably wants different foundations if you do this. So you might want to just have that one there, because I think that will snap to it. There we go. Nope. So yeah, you could have these on there. If you wanted doors, that's probably what I would do, because slightly more creatures will fit through this door rather than a double door. So like a bison won't fit through a double door, but I think it should fit through these. So you could definitely, you know what, we might add those in because I quite like that. It's just a shame that we have to add all the extra snap points in there. We'll do one side with, one without. How about that? Yeah, the saloon door would work, but again, that depends on the creature you want to fit in here. Because this door fits slightly more creatures. So if you'd want, again, like a bison won't fit through a double door. But it would fit through that door because technically it's still a full wall that's empty. But yeah, the saloon doors would definitely be a good option for this as well. Oh, why is that the other way around? We want to keep the textures the same, please. Oh. There we go. See, this is... this makes no sense. Oh, this texture is the wrong way around too. Of course. They're all different. There we go. Now we have some nice doors in there. Yeah, some nests would be cool. Although, depending on what deco mods you'd have, because I've got wall and floor installed, which adds a lot of elements that are in the game here. So we have a wyvern nest, or we have a gigantoraptor. Maybe in the future they will add the Deinonychus. So what I could do now is like I could have something like this, which is the... I mean, you can clearly see this is the gigantoraptor nest. But, you know, that would make for some cozy deco. Right. Guess we, yeah. Even though you already have the feeding trough, you get a nest too. Yeah. So you could have that code, but that's a mod. That's not a cosmetic. But yeah, it would be cool if ARK would let you do that, right? For certain creatures, have some of those things we can make. But in general, I think that makes for a pretty nice little stables. Well, not literal at all, is it? Well, yeah, a Deinonychus stable and a breeding pen. Right in here. And a full base up there if you wanted to. It's all included. It's all included. I'm quite happy with the way this one turned out. I hope you guys liked it as well. I don't know what it is, but something about this style has made me really motivated, as you can see by the whole little town I've started to create here. And I've got a build tutorial for the little house. I might do a tutorial for the slightly bigger house, and probably do a tutorial for this one. No, I don't have it for this house yet. I probably will. I quite like these little builds, and it wouldn't take too much time. It's like a slightly bigger version of the small one, but the small one is very, very cozy and very early game, of course. This one is slightly more practical. And then this one, whew, this one is actually really cool. Quite happy with that. I'll probably decorate this a little bit to make a little bit of a town square, something like that. I don't know, we'll figure something out. Probably want to do more buildings between that. That would be a little bit too crowded, but it is slowly but surely transforming into something that looks a little bit more like a town. There's something weird that goes on with those quarter roof pieces where they start to like have different textures the further away you go. Do you see that? Like, there we go. Now it's all the same again. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what that is, but it's a little weird. A little weird. Anyway, quite happy with our new stables. Good home for the Deinonychus, I'd say. Yeah. again, that was a pretty fun build. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you didn't see yet, I'm currently doing a poll about which ruin to rebuild, and currently this one over here, which is not really a ruin, is it? But you know what I mean, is winning. So that means we'll be turning this into a functional base, which doesn't need necessarily a lot of building, of course, since you have all of these structures, but we'll be turning these into like a base. We'll probably add a few builds as well, of course, because otherwise it's going to be quite a boring thing to do. And then this is probably going to be like a big breeding pen, right? Feels like it has to be. But yeah, this one is currently winning. If you still want to vote, check the community post or the posts on my channel. It should be there. You can vote. It's between this one. It's between the Redwood Castle somewhere here. There we go. That one. And then Helm's Deep, which is over there. So Helm's Deep, which is over here, which will be quite fun, but I'm also rebuilding that with my tribe on my community server already, so I mean, I don't mind doing it twice. But and then this one. Those are the 4 options for now. Yeah, no, definitely do. But yeah, happy with the results of this tables. Again, I hope you enjoy it. If you did, don't forget to leave a like on the stream, really helps me out. And of course, subscribe if you haven't yet. Feel free to leave suggestions for any other builds you'd like to see. I've been seeing some good suggestions. I saw someone requesting like a wyvern stables or dino pen, which would be a really fun thing to design, I suppose, because they are quite big. So it would be quite a roomy build, or some way where you'd have multiple wyverns in a spot. But could be a fun one. But for now, I'm really enjoying these little Rohan builds. So definitely will be doing this. This table definitely turned out a little bit bigger than I expected, because I had a different layout for stables in mind from like Edoras. But yeah, this one is actually already quite sizable and can have quite a lot of things in here already. But you know, we'll see what we'll do. There's so many things to build, we'll always figure out something to do. Anyway guys, hopefully you enjoyed. This is going to be it for this stream, but I hope to see you again in the next video or the next stream. For now, I'm gonna say thanks for joining, and hopefully I'll see you around in one of the next videos or streams, and we'll do some more fun builds in that one. Until then, goodbye.